All right, welcome back, mobsters. It's Dr. Jared here, HPC Move Mob, obviously a subsidiary of Health and Performance Center. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to reach out into the world to my sister, Katie Van Ann, up at CrossFit Viral in Omaha. If you're ever in that area, drop in. They're awesome people, awesome gym. James Kuna runs the programming there and all the coaches, Nate and Steph, fantastic people. What we're going to look at is foot pain on the dorsal aspect or the top part of the foot in jump or spring variants, meaning double unders, box jumps, running, those types of things. We also want to understand ankle eversion, the subtalar joint, tarsals, and metatarsal integration and adaptation all the way up into the great toe. They're very important concepts. I don't want to overdo this and make this super long and lose people, but do need to go through kind of the dynamics of the foot because it's really important. So intended, well, who knew? Neutral, right? Yeah, it's kind of important. Paradoxical is supination or pronation. This person is that high arch person that's stuck in supination where their foot can't drop down. They can't really adapt to the ground. The opposite end of the spectrum is someone who's kind of got a sloppy leg, sloppy foot, and is just diving down in the passive structure. So both of these people are equally vulnerable to developing lots of different problems at the foot and ankle all the way back up into the knee, hip, and low back. But realistically for this, we're talking about the top part of the foot, and they're both equally vulnerable to that. These people in supination, from just crushing and compressing the outer segments, since they can't drop down through the inner segments of the foot and get off the big toe or the first ray, as we're going to call it, they're just going to compress everything in here. Here they go way past the first ray. They're trying to create through a bunion or some weird ankle dynamics in here. They're trying to create another first ray or great toe because they've gone way too far. So too much range of motion on this person, not enough on this person. They both need to get to neutral. For me, I'm more of this person from chronic ankle sprains, and I need to kind of move in this direction, but stop when I get to neutral so I can find a good bottom position of my squat and keep my feet healthy in any of my jump or spring variants. We're just going to go through some of the joints here and give them kind of names or little analogies as what they are. Here's the tibia, it's the shin bone. We're going to call this the horseback rider. This is the talus, okay? It's also going to be our saddle. So the horseback rider sits on top of the saddle. Here's the base of support, or the house, which is the calcaneus, or your heel. So this tibio-talar joint is where we do dorsiflexion. I'm sure if you've been in CrossFit for any time, you kind of know what ankle dorsiflexion is. It happens right here, but the talus has to move around and kind of glide like a saddle does on a horse, which is that calcaneus, to allow that good range of motion happening. We can move over the subtalar joint. Here's the talus, here's the calcaneus, the tibia would be here, it would tip forward. This has to kind of roll and glide and have some kind of fine-tuned range of motion to allow for things to happen in dorsiflexion and through plantar flexion through the gait cycle. So the subtalar joint is right here, and we do ankle inversion and eversion. Now, inversion would be out here. This is the back part of the knee. So an inversion ankle sprain is what most people get, where they roll their ankle to the outside. That's inversion. Well, eversion is a very, very important thing. And if we've done a lot of inversion ankle sprains, we kind of lose that capability to evert real well. And if we can't evert, it's very tough to dorsiflex. So again, eversion provides the capability for a lot of movement to happen at the talus so the tibia can roll forward into dorsiflexion without compressing the crap out of all of this stuff in through here. So a lot of times with the high arch person that's stuck in supination, they're just crushing all of this because they can't drop into eversion and let things drop down and roll from the fifth towards the first and towards the big toe. Joints of the foot. We got the tarsals. Again, we're going to talk about this, and we'll go through here. We have our horseback rider, we got our saddle, we got our horse, and now we're chasing a rattlesnake. And the rattle portion of the rattlesnake is these tarsals. They're really small in through here, bones like a rattle. They have fine-tuned movement on a rattlesnake that makes the noise. For the foot, it just allows for kind of flow of this dynamic down the foot to be able to be massively adaptable to the ground and to work with ground reactive force to absorb that, so we're not compressing or overly yanking on tendons and ligaments in both of those adaptations. And again, now moving on to the metatarsals, we have these. This is kind of the body of the snake, where here's the rattle, the body of the snake. There's a lot of adaptation there. Moves off into the first ray or the big toe. We'll move to that. Here's our first ray, and again, that's dorsiflexion right there through that first ray, which is super important, especially in the spring phase with running. If we can't get this on a stable ankle all the way up, we got major problems. So this is a very, very important component of what's going on through here, the dynamics of everything filtering either up through this first ray, through the arch, into the ankle and up, or downwards in terms of stability. Very, very important. So if we look at this, we have the shin on top of the saddle, and on top of the house, I have that backwards, but your tibia on top of your talus, on top of your calcaneus. The saddle again is the talus on top of the calcaneus. The rattle are the tarsals. The snake body is the metatarsals, and the head of the snake is that first ray. Because man, if we can get that first ray to work really well on top of everything else, yeah, you cut off the head of the snake and everything else works really good. So I kind of like the analogy, just to give you guys an understanding of what you're trying to accomplish and a little bit more about the mechanics of your body. So if we progress to some pin. All right, so here we go. Now we're back onto the mobilization. Actually, why we went through that presentation. We're going to try and adapt a lot of those things that you just learned right into what we're doing. The first one is going to be a pin and stretch. We get this guy rocking and rolling here. You see, here, I'm going to turn him down. Perfect. You see right there, I'm really rolling that rad roller to the outside part of the foot, and that's going to allow me to drop everything down and through, as we were talking about, trying to get things to roll from the outside of the foot down to the big toes so that you can go off of that first big toe if you're running or doing a spring variant in jumping, or if you're going into a deep squat, just being able to stay grounded on your big toe through your arch into your heel while your knee is tracking over that third to fifth toe. That's the idea behind just trying to get that roller in there to mash and pin on that on those tissues and then move around. So as I go through this, you'll notice the whole time I'm kind of moving that around in there, but I'm trying to take that knee out over. There you go. You see I'm kind of taking it out and over those toes. The third to fifth toe, very important thing to do, very gnarly, but very beneficial. If you start on this, make sure you just start with maybe your shoe on and a plate, like a 5-pound plate or a 10-pound plate, just to get that so it's not such a grind. But as soon as you can, get some sort of a golf ball. If you have a rad roller, the small rad round, that's a good thing to start using to really get that dynamic working. Now, something that might even come a little bit sooner with that, or definitely in correlation, is mashing and moving. Here you see I'm kind of starting to mash the inside part of the arch, inside part of the heel, just those areas that need to open up so I can go through ankle eversion. Okay, inversion ankle sprain. I need to do that by getting back into eversion and stabilizing that. You see me doing that now on the inside part, really getting kind of gnarly with that in terms of applying more pressure down through there, trying to get the ankle or the subtalar joint to evert. I'm going to start to move down. I'm kind of pushing that talus back as I'm pulling the cuboid up and trying to roll things over. I might go all the way over to that navicular, continue to pull up on that just to get that roll action, all the while trying to pull my ankle up into dorsiflexion and then block my knee into keeping it kind of loaded or in a way that I want it in the squat, so I'm not just working into massive amounts of hyperpronation and uncontrolled pronation, which would obviously not be a good thing. Now to get into more of the movement for stabilization. After you've done this, you want to really make sure that you're moving. So again, let me block that. Good. As I'm going through there, you see I'm kind of rolling in and out, then coming up and trying to stay on the big toe. Trying to drive my knees out as I go down into that little quarter squat, more in a jump phase. Coming up just like I would be jumping, but trying to stay on that big toe so as not to mash anything on the outside part of the foot, and really just get the foot dynamic to work appropriately. There, I'm kind of rolling on the outside part of the left leg because that ankle is a little bit more restricted. That's fine. Here, if I go to the single leg, we'll just watch As I go on there, I'm just trying to get that roll action going, trying to stay on that big toe. This is something that you want to do if it's bothering you during running, to make sure you have the foot play and the dynamic before you go out and run, after you run, to kind of rebuild that dynamic so that the Achilles tendon, everything that is tracking there is working just fine. All those joints are moving as they're supposed to, and that foot pain that's on the top part of your foot is starting to diminish over time because the mechanics of your foot are now true and ideal, and you're consistently putting yourself in a positive healing situation. Hope that helps. Good luck.